In the dark underbelly of Los Angeles in the mid-1980s, a reign of terror gripped the city. The Night Stalker, a man who would later be identified as Richard Ramirez, embarked on a crime spree that would haunt the collective consciousness of Southern California. This is the chilling story of Richard Ramirez and his rampage of violence and fear. Richard Ramirez was born on February 29, 1960 in El Paso, Texas, to a troubled family. His father, Julian Ramirez, was a former police officer with a violent streak, and his mother, Mercedes Ramirez, was a deeply religious woman. Young Richard's upbringing was marked by abuse, both physical and emotional, and he was exposed to his cousin Miguel's graphic war stories and gruesome photographs, further desensitizing him to violence. As a teenager, Ramirez experimented with drugs, drifted into Satanism, and became obsessed with serial killers like Charles Manson and Richard Speck. His descent into darkness was accelerated by his dysfunctional family life and his own growing deviant tendencies. In the spring of 1984, the city of Los Angeles was blissfully unaware of the horror that was about to descend upon it. Richard Ramirez started his killing spree on June 28, 1984, with the murder of 79-year-old Jenny Vinkow in her apartment. His modus operandi was gruesome, involving sexual assault, burglary, and brutal stabbings. Over the next year, Ramirez continued his reign of terror, targeting men, women, and children. He was indiscriminate in his choice of victims, striking fear into the hearts of residents who had no idea when or where he would strike next. His crimes escalated in brutality, leaving a trail of traumatized survivors and devastated families in his wake. The Night Stalker's brutality knew no bounds. He often left pentagrams at his crime scenes, fueling the fear that he was a Satanist with a twisted agenda. The city of Los Angeles descended into panic, with residents arming themselves and installing security systems. The police, under immense pressure to catch the elusive killer, formed a dedicated task force to apprehend Ramirez. Survivors of his attacks provided chilling descriptions of their assailant, who was known for his yellow teeth, foul breath, and foul language. These details, along with fingerprint evidence, slowly began to piece together a picture of the man behind the brutal crimes. On August 31, 1985, the Night Stalker's reign of terror took an unexpected turn. Ramirez, while attempting to steal a car, was apprehended by an angry mob in East Los Angeles. They recognized him from his mugshot in the newspaper, and with the help of a police officer passing by, Ramirez was arrested. The city of Los Angeles breathed a collective sigh of relief as news of his capture spread. Ramirez was finally in custody, and the city could begin the process of healing from the trauma he had inflicted. Richard Ramirez's trial was a media spectacle. His defense attorney tried to portray him as a victim of abuse and a troubled upbringing, while the prosecution presented a mountain of evidence linking him to the Night Stalker crimes. In September 1989, Richard Ramirez was found guilty of 13 counts of murder, 5 counts of attempted murder, 11 counts of sexual assault, and 14 counts of burglary. He was sentenced to death. While on death row at San Quentin State Prison, Ramirez continued to garner attention for his bizarre and macabre behavior. He maintained a cult-like following of admirers who sent him letters and gifts. On June 7, 2013, Richard Ramirez's dark journey came to an end. He died of complications related to B-cell lymphoma while still on death row. His death brought closure to the victims' families and survivors who had lived in fear for nearly 3 decades.